Yo, people, welcome back to On Track GP. Myself and Sam in the building. Bro, how are you? First of all, Azerbaijan qualifying. Insane.
I know, mad start to the weekend of an already mad weekend. Though we've got so many changes, but yeah, it was good. It was interesting to see what happened, really, and took half an hour longer than we expected. But yeah, it was an interesting one.
Yeah, it felt like the drivers could have done with more practice sessions because turn 3 was a problem, as always. It
Yeah,
is every year. But what is
yeah,
going on at turn 3? Is there something in the air?
I think just that 3-week break, that one practice session, like we've all been there. You don't do something for a while, you come back, you've forgotten how to do it. So yeah, the problem for them is they're driving 200-mile-an-hour cars into a very tight circuit. So yeah, that turn 3 in particular is one where you think, okay, maybe I've got this, maybe I want to go in. We saw a few drivers use the runoff area, but some other ones a bit more confident, a bit overconfident, and they went straight into it. So yeah, it's a dangerous corner. I don't think that's the last of it. We'll see this weekend. I think we'll definitely get a few more incidents in that area for sure.
Yeah, there is like a runoff if obviously you're going in at high speed, but some drivers decided no, the wall was much faster option
Yeah,
to crash out
there
there.
was a split between like the more experienced drivers who, like Sainz, he almost went off there, but he sort of realized, okay, I'm not making it bail
Brought
out.
it back
Whereas
exactly.
De
Yeah.
Vries, a rookie, straight into the wall. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it takes a bit of nous to realize you're not going to make it.
100%. I think there's no better place to start than, of course, at the top of the grid, where all the excitement kind of is, because Charles Leclerc. I mean, first of all, I couldn't understand in Q3 how they both did exactly the same time, right? Him and Verstappen did the same time to the second. I don't understand how that's possible, because we saw George Russell and Hamilton were separated by, I think, 4 thousandths of a second for him to fail to get out of Q2. And then obviously Leclerc, who I think this is his 4th in a row, is it? In Azerbaijan in terms of qualifying, he manages to go and better that with an insane lap, and now is going to be on pole. I mean, what was your initial reaction to that? Did you expect that? Because we know Ferrari have had their issues this season.
No, I personally didn't. I think even Leclerc didn't. He said afterwards he was expecting to beat the Aston Martins and the Mercedes. Hadn't he really considered beating the Red Bull? So that shows what he was thinking. Yeah, as you're right, like Sergio Perez often gets brandished as the king of street circuits, but I think when it comes to Baku, like there's something about it Leclerc just does incredibly well. Like he just loves that circuit. Weirdly, he said he feels like he can put more into street circuits than he can in normal circuits, which is kind of the opposite way around. Usually, they're more afraid of hitting the wall, so they sort of back off a little bit. But yeah, that lap was just incredible. Like as you said, he got the same time as Verstappen, which is quite rare in F1. But like the margins were so fine, he just sort of found the extra bit of pace. And I think it quickly emerged that it was going to be a case of him versus Perez and Verstappen. I don't think Sainz was going to be able to keep up with them. And yeah, Leclerc just proved the better of the three. And like the question has always been Ferrari, they're good at qualifying, but how is that going to front up in the race? Like, can they make that last over a certain amount? Obviously, it's a street circuit, but it does still have its overtake opportunities. So it'd be interesting to see if they can hold on to that lead, and if so, for how long they can do that.
Yeah, and now the pressure's really on strategy wise, and obviously with the team to get it absolutely on point, because I think Ferrari desperately need. I mean, of course, it's going to be tough with Verstappen behind them on the grid on Sunday, but they desperately, if they were to get a win here, would just bring the whole team, the whole mood right back up, and an opportunity to get some serious points in the constructors as well. So I'm quite excited. I'm still tentative, because I think Verstappen, of course, is always someone that you can never count out, but it's just nice to see a little bit of a mix up, and to see Ferrari actually now with a serious position on this Sunday coming. Alonso obviously finishing in 6th behind Hamilton. One of the Mercedes got through, the other one did not. But before we get to that, obviously Aston Martin, is what happened there with Alonso and Stroll today? Just not quite at it.
Yeah, I think their car isn't best suited for this circuit. They've got quite a draggy car, so they'll be quick in corners, but while Baku does have a lot of corners, it's got some incredibly long straights, and you can just lose so much time through there. Like it's sort of in the opposite way why we're seeing Williams who are so quick. Like the Williams car is really quick on straights, not so great on corners. And I think Aston Martin's sort of a difference from that. So yeah, P6 for Alonso, which I think is his worst qualifying performance of the year so far. But the margins were very fine. I think Lando Norris, P7, was saying they're only 2/10 off P4. So like that sort of area behind the top three was just so narrow that even a little mistake, I think Alonso said he had some problems with DRS as well. So something like that can really cost you. But I think Aston Martin still be reasonably pleased. Like P6 isn't the end of the world. Like if someone up front has a problem, or if someone has worse strategy than they do, they can always make up those places. But yeah, wasn't their greatest qualifying, and it sort of worked still on Sunday for them.
Yeah, and Hamilton, he was almost out of going out in Q2, managed to get himself into Q3 at the expense of Russell, who, I mean, I could never. This is Mr. Saturday. This is Saturday man himself, and he's out in Q2 and he's going to be starting in 11th. I mean, for Mercedes, what kind of strategy do we even? I guess both drivers will be on two completely different strategies with the gap that they've got there. But do you think they can salvage something serious with the two drivers there? Because it's tough with Russell all the way back in 11th there.
Yeah, I think for Russell, it's obviously very tough. I think compared to the other teams this weekend, we haven't really seen these improvements from Mercedes. I know they've said a lot. They've sort of aiming for Imola more than this one. But if we sort of take them in comparison to McLaren, who looked much better today than they have done in the first three races, like that Mercedes just didn't look quick. And I think the fact that Hamilton finished there was largely due to him. Like, I don't think his car was much quicker than Russell's, and Russell was out. So I think that last little bit of speed came from Hamilton as a driver. What they do in the race, yeah, you're right. They're going to have two different strategy, really. For Russell, it's going to be like, how can we overtake the cars in front of us as quickly as possible? Like, how do we get up the grid? Because you don't want to be stuck in like they call it a DRS train, where you just stop following these cars around and around. So like, you want to push up. For Hamilton, obviously, I think his is more, how do I defend what I've got, really? Because I don't see him having the speed to overtake the guys ahead of him. So for him, it's going to be, how do I keep the Alpines are usually quick. So it's not so great today. Obviously got Aston Martins behind him as well. McLaren's look good as well. So yeah, I think for Hamilton, it's more of a case of, how do I keep the guys behind me? Whereas Russell, he's got to really go out and sort of get ahead, get past some cars quite early on.
But strong performances from McLaren, both drivers, like you said. I mean, you said that there could be upgrades coming. They needed, I think in the preview, we were speaking about, if anyone needs an upgrade, it's McLaren in terms of expectation and versus performance. They're the guys that are really not pulling their weight at the moment. And it was a really good day for them. And maybe double points is on the way for McLaren. And Norris, this is great for him in particular. I think Piastri might be more patient because he's in his rookie season and he's maybe able to go through those rough times a little bit better. But Norris is a talented driver who really will want to be challenging he'll want to be challenging for podiums. That will be his ambition, not where he's been this season. So how do you think they can sustain that in the race? Is that something that you can see them continuing? And is this something that you can really kind of hang your hat on in terms of consistent improvement going forward? Or is it maybe just this one?
Yeah, you'd have to see over the next few races, but I think from what we've seen in this qualifying session, yeah, you think we've only had 2 sessions of this weekend. Like, it's such a weird weekend the way it's set out, but there was a lot for them to be positive about. Like, I think the fact that Norris was annoyed he didn't get P4 was quite a telling sign that he thought there was pace in the car. Like, Piastri made it to Q3 for the first time in his F1 career on a track I think he's only driven once before, so like that's not an easy feat. And he even said afterwards he wasn't feeling 100% fit. So like, that was an incredible performance from him. But yeah, you're right. Like, they've obviously come on a huge amount. I did mention the preview, like, of all the teams you think of miles behind where they should be, it was McLaren. So I think Norris leading up to this, he sort of said, this is where our car should have been to start with at the start of the season. So we can't really expect him to break into that upper echelon, really. Like, I think the cars above them are still a lot quicker. But yeah, like, they're in a great position for Sunday's race. And like, it's just, there'll be a similar case to Hamilton, really. It's like, how do we stay where we are? Like, how do we keep these positions and fight off the guys behind us?
Yeah. Also Sargent, Bottas, Ocon, Albon and Russell all going out of Q2 there. And then in Q1, of course, De Vries, we saw Gasly, Magnussen, Hulkenberg and Zhu as well. Like, Gasly, going into the wall on turn 3. We spoke about it earlier on in the show, turn 3, and I've seen it years, and we've all seen it years and years. It's always turn 3 for some reason. It just seems to be a massive issue. Tires be locking up, people going into the wall, not going down into the sidings, and it almost tampers with your ego a little bit. It's like, no, I can make that corner, I can make it. No, you can't, and then you end up getting the middle ground, which is the wall. But Gasly, it's not the first time we've seen him back, starting from far back and having to pull it together in an incredible feat to pass a lot of cars and overcome all the obstacles. Do you see that happening again for him?
Yeah, I think he's got a talent to. I think it was a dreadful Friday for him, really. So in FP1, his car sort of became a chimney. There was an unusual fire like deep within it the marshals couldn't put out. Like, that's not what you want. Having just come from a race where you've driven into your own teammate, like, you obviously want a good, and putting together the fact it's the only practice session they get, you're going to want to get as many laps in as possible. So the fact that his engineers did an incredible job to get that car back on track, and then he bins it shortly after, it was not ideal. It's like him and De Vries were having quite sizable accidents going into that wall there. But yeah, like I said, that car is quick. It's quicker than where it is. Like, he has shown that he can overtake. And like, as I mentioned earlier, Baku is a circuit where you can overtake. So it's not the end of the world for him, but I'm sure if you asked him 4 races in, do you want to start from near the back out of half of them? He said, no, thank you. I'd much rather be up in P10, even if you can have a heroic race where you fly at the grid. But yeah, he's got the speed, he's got the car. It's just whether sort of a luck plays into it, really. Like, this is a circuit where you can have endless red flags, as we saw in just qualifying. So, like, if they get lucky with that, there's no reason he can't fly up the grid.
100%. And Magnussen also forced to retire as well with issues. A big shame for him. What's your prediction, I guess, going into the race? Obviously, we know the sprint races tomorrow. We'll be covering that, and that will take some points out of the race in terms of what they're able to accumulate. But what are your predictions for the main race on Sunday? What do you think your top 3 will be after what's happened in qualifying here with the grid?
Yeah, I think that Red Bull is still the quickest car over a race period. I think Leclerc pretty much admitted that after the race. Like, they've always been quite quick in qualifying, but it's just that race pace that seems to let them down. But I think starting from Q1 is just a very P1 is just a very healthy position for him. And I could easily see, I don't think he's getting the win. Like, maybe he can hold off Perez, but I think he's got a good chance to at least be on a podium. Like,
Podium,
I think,
yeah.
The other drivers behind him, obviously Sainz is next, and like, he seems to have the beating of him this season when he manages to finish. But yeah, I think I'd expect a podium for Leclerc. I still think Verstappen was going to win. It's the boring answer, but he's P2. If he gets a good start, like,
such a long race and that straight line speed for Red Bull as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, their DRS advantage is just huge. So, like, as soon as they get on that DRS straight, if Leclerc has managed to hold on from the opening corners, then I think he's going to breeze past. But I wouldn't rule out Leclerc somehow holding Perez back, or I think P3 at least for Leclerc. Yeah, then Verstappen wins, and I think in terms of Mercedes, I think they might get gobbled up by the Aston Martin. I think Alonso looks very quick. Their car might not be great on the straights, but if
I think he was only 3 or 4 tenths slower in Q2.
Exactly. And I think if they can get a DRS issue sorted, because no doubt that hampered him. Like, they'll need that for Sunday. Sorry, then definitely. Like, but yeah, I think top 3, I'd say both the Red Bulls and the Ferrari Leclerc.
Yeah, my prediction from Mercedes making a podium is not looking too good, but we'll have to see. Of course, we know that Joe is going to be absolutely doing cartwheels when he sees when we next see him for that Ferrari.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe if we never get Joe on, Ferrari do well. Like, he's the curse. Like, he hasn't been here, and like, they've done well. So.
They've done well, exactly. He's got to learn from this. He's got to learn from these lessons. But guys, we'll be back. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. What a great qualifying, I have to say. I still want more practice sessions. I know they're boring for some people, but I think turn 3 is you need to practice clearly. But the race is going to be fun. The sprint race should be good as well. And I definitely agree with you. I think turn 3 is going to continue to be a problem throughout this weekend. So yeah, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you smash up the likes, and we will see you tomorrow for the sprint race. Until then, next time, big up, people. Peace.